Thank you for tuning in to the World Builder's Anvil, episode 256, Building an Artifact.
Ho! Don't know where to start building your fantasy world?
Do you need more? Does it make sense?
Forget any worries and become a crafter of imagination.
This is the place where we will prime your mind.
Now, it's time to heat up the forge.
Break out the mithril ingots and hammer.
Welcome to the World Builder's Anvil. I'm Jeffrey W. Ingram.
And I'm Michael Miller.
Let's sup from the muck of Java and build. Welcome back. As always, I'm Jeffrey of Thundera.
I was going to do a Thundercats reference just because I wasn't sure if you were doing that on purpose. Okay, if you're going with Thundercats, then I am from Eternia.
Of course you're from Eternia, not Thundera.
Thundera. There was, I'm trying to think of what it was. There's a, epic, no. There's a battle, YouTube channel where they take fictional characters and they pit them against each other and they do animations that are fantastic, but they also death battle. They take all of the reference material they can find about fictional characters and then apply science to figure out what their actual power levels are, and then they fight them to the death. And they did a He-Man versus Lion-O.
And who won?
I don't remember.
Well, then that was a really useless story. Thank you for not sharing.
I'm pretty sure it was He-Man. Oh, yeah, it was He-Man. It was He-Man because there was an episode of the Thundercats where a dude broke the sword of Thundera, and it was a guy who, was not...
Looked basically like He-Man, yeah.
No. But they were, making a comparison like, okay, well, no one's ever broken his sword, and also covering the different
the episode though, it was stabbed through the eye by Excalibur.
You remember this episode?
I remember this episode, yes. It was formative to my youth.
The thing is, there was also an episode of He-Man where He-Man punched a planet. So
He-Man's at ridiculous power level.
Yeah.
Thundercats was much more realistic.
So today we're talking about artifacts. And when we use the word artifact in this context, we're talking about, we've got two episodes in mind for you guys that are kind of on this subject. And I don't know if we're going to end up combining it based on how this episode plays out, or if we're going to end up doing two. But we were talking about props, story props. So like this could be a MacGuffin. This could be a magical item or weapon. And we just generically chose the word artifact.
Well, actually, no, we had something a little bit more specific in mind. Typically, when I think of artifact, what I think of is something that is so exceptionally powerful that there is a possibility that you become enthralled by it.
So like the One Ring.
Like the One Ring. And it's not necessarily, it could be the power of the item. It could be something controlling the item.
So, but this makes me think that is a negative effect, right? So, like
it could be, but it's like a constant, like what's more powerful, you or the item. But I don't think it's always necessarily negative if you're controlled by it. But if nothing else, your destiny is controlled by it. Like even Excalibur, which I think we both would think of as an artifact.
Yeah.
The guy who wielded it got iced by his own son. So, I mean, yeah.
That's a good point.
There are typically, when you deal with things of extreme power, extreme cost. And I think
I tend
a battle of will type of deals with artifacts.
I tend to look at Mordred more as Morgana's son than Arthur's son. Even though it's true, but...
It's their child.
it is, but like, it just seems to me that like, because didn't she tricked him into it? So
yes, at least according to the movie, which is the authoritative source.
Of course, for the purposes of this conversation. But we're still clarifying artifact. For me, I don't agree with your definition because I would say that a magical artifact for me would be any type. It has to be a high power. So you can't just be like, oh, well, this is a bag of holding. It's a magical artifact. No, it's not powerful enough. It's got to be significantly powerful.
Wait, whoa. A bag of holding is not powerful. This negative space item isn't powerful enough.
I'm agreeing that a bag of holding is a powerful magical item. I don't agree that it should be clarified as a power level with like Excalibur or the one ring.
No. But maybe the third or fourth ring.
Maybe the third or fourth ring. Like the one that just controls all the deer in like a 50-foot radius, sure. Because,
deer's
if you can, because if you can get a lot of deer together, then that's pretty dangerous.
It's a horde of deer.
Yeah, a deer horde.
Yeah, no.
I wonder if it would control undead deer, because then I would have an undead deer horde. That would be pretty cool. Then I would definitely qualify it as an artifact.
Yeah, no, I think it's like, I think there's like, when you say artifact, it's something of exceptional power. I think there is a risk to being lost to it.
So that is that an insistence on your part that be a part of what we're going to create?
Yeah, because one of the rules of Gardul, one of the themes I always redress, and really any fiction I do, is nothing's free, baby. There's always a cost, and most people like to ignore the cost, but there's always a cost to everything. And powerful magic items, oh yeah,
definitely.
So okay. So that's an assistant by might. Now it's not saying that you can't win, but the thing is, over time you probably will lose. It's like the more you use it, the more it's not even necessarily usage things, but the more you rely on it, the weaker you're going to become. And
it's like the like Spawn's cape or Spawn's spawn powers are kind of like that.
Well, Spawn, yeah. I mean, same idea, but in a little bit different way, where it's like he had like 10,000 spawn points or whatever. And when he used up all of his spawn points, then he returned to hell.
They did change that, though.
Well, they would have had to, or it would be a limited run comic.
And that's exactly it. And Spawn is actually one of the few comics that never resets. Spawn has never reset its comic number. Like its issue numbers have all constantly gone up. They've never changed it, even though the company has wanted McFarlane to change it. And so they've suggested it a few times, and he's like, "No, Spawn will never do that."
Good for him,
But he has a specific reason for it. I don't know that he's actually.
And he's gone into different spawns and stuff like that as well too.
Reason, though.
Yeah, I don't know what his reason is, but he's definitely gone into other spawns and stuff like that, like the Ninja spawn. I mean, anything that creates new cool toys. But
right.
Origin stories are always a very powerful way to pull in new readers, which is probably why they would want it. It's like that's why every superhero movie, it's like they have this insistence on it being an origin story. Probably because it's a good place to get new people in.
Do you want to talk about any of the questions? Do you want to go through the questions and then go through and answer them, or you just want to go through them as we build here?
We'll go through it as we build here.
Okay.
But I think before we go and spend a little bit of time, Dungeons and Dragons, at least the old editions, had a list of artifacts. I believe many of them were based on mythology, but D&D-ified. I'm sure some of them were probably actually their own creations. Like, I don't know if Baba Yaga really had a hut, but the old artifact hut in D&D was really cool. But Michael went over a couple. Excalibur, the One Ring are definitely artifacts.
Would you call the Necronomicon from Evil Dead an artifact?
Yes. Oh, okay. Yes, most definitely.
Because that doesn't control him, but it certainly affects. Really? His life.
You don't think it controls him by throwing endless hurdles of undead at him?
Well, I'm saying, actually, you want to get nitpicky. Actually, it does possess him sometimes. But would you say that that's him being possessed, or is that the book doing it directly? I would say
it doesn't necessarily even need to be the book directly, because I mean, one of my arguments being an artifact that might just be a conduit where the intelligence, the thing that is actually controlling or trying to control you, is a third party.
Okay, so then
evil god or even a good god.
So your definition is actually a little more understanding than I thought you were trying to apply.
It's not the artifact itself doesn't necessarily need to possess the intelligence, but there's an intelligence behind it, at least, that is that you're battling against. And it could just be the sheer power of it is so alluring that you have to use the sword of blood-sucking.
Well, would you qualify? Let's say you have like a powerful item that really just does like some sort of offensive combat thing. And because of that, it makes men jealous and it makes, enemies want to kill you. And subsequently, just because you own it, it affects your life. So
no.
you wouldn't say that.
It has to go, it's one of those things where it's like over time, like a fine wine when it ages and everyone knows about it. There is a sentience about it, whether or not it's really the item or something behind it. But it sort of crystallizes and becomes richer over time. Okay. So it's like a Vorpal sword in and of itself is not an artifact. And for those of you that don't know what a Vorpal sword is, it's a sword of head chopping in Dungeons and Dragons.
Sword of head chopping.
Yeah,
is that literally what are they saying?
Yeah, I think like back in the old school days when I used to run Dungeons, this is like second edition, so I mean I don't have any idea today. A Vorpal, I think it was like on an 18 or higher roll, the target's head would come off, and so it didn't matter what the hit points were. So it was a sort of quick kills if you used it well. And I think it was a natural roll. I don't think you'd modify to get there.
Now you guys can't see either one of us, and maybe you will soon on Jeff's next maybe Monday video. But I'm having a hard time looking at you for new reasons. I always have a hard time looking at Jeff, but I'm laughing because we both got new glasses this week, and they're almost the same.
Well, I actually had these for a little while. I don't normally wear them because I don't
think I've ever seen them before.
Maybe not. I don't know. But I need them to read, and my eyes are really tired already today. So here I am, and I had to read my handwriting, which always is a little extra strain.
Yeah, Jeff's handwriting's terrible.
Like Michael and I were coming up with. We sat down. We're coming up with possible show topics, and he was hoping I could read. And I hopefully it did, or this episode really just came out of chicken scratch.
What I thought was funny is I was like, "Are you going to be able to read that later? Because I can't." And he was like, "Sometimes I have to have Kristen read it to me."
Yes,
he's like, "Sometimes I can't read my own handwriting, but my wife can."
Yeah, that is so true. And it works for me. It saved me a few times, but luckily I did not need her for this. What does this word say?
Quick shout outs before we start building. New people to the closed Facebook Undercroft group. Thank you for joining Austin, Ariel, Mikey, Joseph, NL, and Jack. And I think I may have shouted some of them out before, but I'd rather double down and make sure to get everybody. So welcome and thanks for joining the group, guys. And with that, are you ready to build?
I'm ready to build.
So our first question is, our first question was, what is an artifact? The second question is, what is it? I guess physically.
Yeah.
What do you want to make?
And I was shooting for a marble.
You're shooting for literally a marble.
I'm just saying that to.
I'm okay with you throwing me off because I was originally thinking one of two things. I was either thinking a weapon or some sort of necromantic, like staff or
marble,
or what do you call like a scepter? Because I love like the necromancy stuff. That's always fun for me. But I like the idea of it being so innocuous as a marble. So let's entertain this idea at least for a little bit.
Okay. So we'll say magic marble.
The magic marble.
and really kind of what made me think about this, another artifact from Earth mythology would be the Holy Grail. Yeah. It's so famous I can't remember the name, the Holy Grail. And I kind of always agreed with the assumption from the movie Raiders of the Lost, not Raiders of the Lost Ark, but The Last Crusade, that the cup of a carpenter would not be some big snazzy bejeweled thing, which is often portrayed in certain movies throughout the ages because it's an artifact of God, but really he was a carpenter. if you believe in him. If not, story-wise, he was a carpenter. Either way, it wouldn't make sense for him to have a giant
gold chalice.
Gold chalice that would have befitted the Emperor of Byzantium or China.
What bothered me is even the very humble cup that Indy chose that turned out to be correct still had a gold interior. Yeah. That bothered me. I was like, shouldn't it just be?
That did bother me. I like the wood on the outside,
like a wooden cup, just goldish.
Yeah, I noticed that too. I just assumed that was laid in later. But yeah, I would kind of agree that they actually screwed that part up. But whatever. I mean, I keep tweeting Spielberg telling him how to do things correctly. He never listens to me.
Yeah, I don't know what that guy's doing. One of these days he'll get it right. He tries. He sure tries. I got to give him credit. He doesn't quit.
I have suggestions for all of his movies, and he just doesn't seem to listen to any of my suggestions. Okay. So we're shooting for a magic marble. Okay, so how does it work? What does a magic marble do?
All right. Well,
I have no idea.
I don't know if we can. I don't know if we. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to just talk this out. I don't think we can quite hit this as bullet points with the questions. I think we'll come back around and just tell everybody these are the things that you should think about when you're going to make it. So I say we just brainstorm this. So a marble makes me think of children. This makes me think of a children's toy. How difficult is it to make? What is the marble made out of? First of all, is it a rock that has been polished down?
Glass.
Or is it glass? It is a glass marble. All right. How tough is it to make a glass marble in your tech level?
Well, it's more the access to glass, but having a very smooth one I would assume be difficult. I don't know when the first marbles were made, so I can't say that for sure, but glass was definitely been accessible since the Bronze Age, at least. If you had glass locally. But I would imagine making a perfectly smooth spherical one would be difficult. But then again, I guess if you get hot enough, you can pour it into a mold, I guess. I don't know anything about making marbles.
I don't either.
Marble might be a really high bar here for us.
Well, all right, look, it's a magic marble. It could have just been made by magic.
Maybe it was a naturally occurring marble.
It might simply be that somebody made it by magic as opposed to taking a glass ball and applying magic to it.
Okay. Yeah.
Or maybe
that's one of the truths of artifacts. Sometimes there is a supernatural origin to them. Sometimes they gain power because of who made them and they were empowered.
I like supernatural. I say that it is supernatural. I say that it's not a glass marble. I say that it's an eyeball.
A glass eye? Okay.
It looks like a glass marble, but let's say that it is actually an eyeball, but it doesn't look like it. People don't realize that that's what it is.
Okay.
Fair
enough. Like if you see it like laying around, it would.
Yeah. Coincidentally, it's the same size as a children's toy.
Okay.
But we then have to justify that marbles are a children's toy. Or is it just a little artifact that somebody's going to find and be like, oh, cool, look at this perfectly spherical little thing.
Yeah, we don't have to justify anything. It's a magic marble to us, but that doesn't mean they think it's a marble.
Okay, let's. I'm not gonna get into the justification yet. Let's get into what it is first. Mm-hmm. So I love the ideas of it being more along the lines of a cursed item, i.e. nefarious happenings,
of course,
and unfortunate power levels. So I like that. Do you like it to be more on more along the lines of evil or more along the lines of good?
Pretty much, I think when you lose out to an artifact, it's always bad. So it doesn't really matter if it's good or not.
Okay.
So we can call it pure evil. I don't mind that.
Okay.
Maybe the fact that how it becomes the eyeball in and of itself is horrific.
Don't touch it. It's pure evil. No, that's from Time Bandits.
Okay. I don't remember that line. Okay.
One of the most pinnacle lines in the movie. Is it more fair to say you don't remember that movie?
I don't really remember that movie at this point. So,
all right. We should both rewatch Time Bandits. Let's add that to the to-do list.
Okay. So, Marble of Doom.
I love it. Okay. Now, how old is the marble?
it has reappeared throughout history.
Okay. Does it gravitate to a certain peoples or a certain age group? Does it gravitate towards men, women, children, a certain race? Go ahead.
I think it gravitates towards people who want to change the world.
Okay. So does it desire to corrupt people like the One Ring?
It happens to corrupt people. It is
so that's a coincidental effect.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of like absolute power corrupts absolutely, sort of thing.
Yeah. I think the idea is you can actually see the weakness of a person when you look at them.
Like by holding the marble? Mm-hmm. Is that a power?
I think if you look through the marble at someone, it works better if it's implanted. And over time, you come to know this, and it causes people, I think, to actually replace their eye with it if they don't have an open socket.
Okay, so are we saying that it's large? Does it change shape to suit the person? Because a marble is much smaller than a regular eyeball.
Well, I mean, it could be like one of the shooter marbles.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, no, it'll fit when you put it in, and you just know it'll fit.
Okay.
Which is why you take a knife and gouge out your own eye.
I kind of like. Okay, I'm starting to like this. Okay, so while looking through it or using it, you have a magic sight ability, i.e., you can see weaknesses. What other big benefits could we do? I think it's got beyond that, because that's just knowledge. I think there also has to be power.
Knowledge of your of anyone's weakness is
it's still just knowledge, though. You could know that without the eyeball. Mm-hmm. It's still just knowledge. I want there to be actual power that they could not cultivate on their own merit.
Maybe the possession of it, the correct possession of it, will allow you to force people into their weakness. So let's say you have someone who is an alcoholic, right?
Okay.
So you poison the wine. The king is suspicious the wine's poisoned, but because you have the eye in, you can sort of weaken his will to resist the drink, even though he knows it's poisoned.
Okay, so like so you have. So the effect
affects the will of the person as well.
So the effect would be like subconscious, though. Like they wouldn't realize you're doing it. Mm-hmm. It would, but you need to focus on them.
Yes.
Does it have any effects that occur beyond your knowing or beyond your intention? So like maybe it affects the wills of like your friends around you just because they're around you. I think
it would over time start to do that. At the beginning.
I think it needs to see. Part of me is thinking it needs to create a bit of isolation in them, but that again, I feel like I'm leaning right into the One Ring. Jeff is taking a brief break. He has stepped away from the mic. This is the perfect moment to say that he is a goofy goofball. The fun part for me about this is I know he's still listening because he still has his headphones on.
Yes, I was listening.
I know.
I think it's incidental, right? So if you're in the like feast with the king and there's the poisoned wine, it would anyone with that weakness, which that one itself is rather common, but like say it could be a friend, right? If they also suffer from it, the weakness, the longer you use it, the more likely.
The same does it have to be the same weakness or just any weakness they have?
The same weakness. So like if you're targeting someone's weakness, the more common the weakness is, which a lot of weaknesses, are common, it would affect those around you. So over time you'd probably become known as a bit cursed because, the king drank the wine and then his wife did, and then his children did, and then his best friend did. And,
bad things happen whenever this guy's around.
Yeah. And they would.
They would. So
I like it because it's subtle, but it's really powerful, especially depending on the weakness, and your desire to change the world sort of propels you to make that evil king drink that poisoned wine to help the people. But then some of the people die too.
I feel like it's too subtle, though. I feel like there needs to be something that's a little more conscious, a little more. I don't know. I'm not sure.
Well, the conscious thing is your choice, to use the weakness against the person, right? It's a moral conscious choice. You know it, but do you do it? And you can come with much more nefarious things, which some of which I won't even mention here. But certain types of weaknesses in and of themselves might be really horrific.
Okay. Do we want to talk about origin?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
Well,
so
it's unknown origin, but we could talk about
maybe unknown to others, but I mean, we should know where it came from and how old it is and everything.
Mm.
And here's the other thing. A lot of the things that we've built on the show have gone directly into your world, and some of them are going to be appearing in your books. Is this something that we can tailor so that it can show up?
I have no real use for it at this point. I don't have any stories planned where it would work.
Not even not even sideways somewhere.
Yeah, maybe in a short story at some point. I don't know. That's just where I'm going. It's not a thing.
Okay. Well, I want to come up with an origin. You don't have to tell you what. You don't have to use it. You want to go with the unknown origin, super mystery, whatever. But I want an origin.
Okay.
So you don't have to use it, but I say we create one for the sake of everyone has to create origins for their stuff if they want to. I think saying mysterious unknown origin is a bit of a cop
out. Why?
Because there's no creation in that. The purpose of this is a creation exercise.
No, you're creating an artifact, not necessarily a background for it.
I'm saying that. Really, you can argue with me on this one?
No.
Of all the things that we can argue about,
I'm just arguing. I'm not necessarily arguing.
Now you're arguing with yourself. Okay. So I say that it is more fun if it's real old. So I'm saying that it's like what's real old in your world? I was going to say like 1,000 or 2,000 years old, but then again, how long do elves live?
Elves live several hundred years in my world.
Okay, so 1,000 years is quite old even for an elf, even by an elf's standards. That's generation. Well, yeah, but it's still generations.
Like 1,000 years is not outside of the realm of an elf in my world. That'd be like being a 100-year-old human.
Still uncommon though.
Still uncommon, but it would probably have to be. I want it to predate history, or at least
you want the magic marble to predate history.
Yeah, so like as soon as history starts popping up, as soon as cultures start popping up, civilizations, it starts popping up here or there.
Okay, so how old would that be?
From the time we're at, probably about, I want to say about 7,000 years, not probably like 5,000 years, something like that.
Okay, so this thing's like say 6, 8, 10,000 years old.
Yeah.
That to me says that it's the eyeball of like a primordial or a god or some sort of titan.
Well, there was the Age of Rage, one of your favorite named ages.
Oh my gosh, I love that. And, I love it. Please let it be from the Age of Rage.
So you can call it the Eye of Thrax.
The Eye of Thrax. So is Thrax a specific character, or did you just make that name up?
No, he's one of the actual gods' names. He is one of the newer gods, not one of the old school ones, but he was specifically the god of revenge, and took part.
I love it
in the cataclysm that ended the old races, kind of, and sort of began the path towards the new races.
All right. So is this legitimately his eye, or is that just a name?
Why else would I call it that?
I don't know. Because it sounds awesome.
After all the years of my game mastering?
No, of course not.
Did you?
No, absolutely not.
That is the perceived origin of it. That is the name of it. No one would call him Thorax, so it would be an odd name to anyone on the world outside of a dragon, because his name, he would be another deity in a different culture. They wouldn't know him as Thorax. They would know him as, the god of bad juju or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Or he could even be the god of law if taking revenge is lawful.
I suppose it depends on the society.
Mm-hmm. Most definitely.
Okay, so there is a subconscious and conscious aspect of it. We have its size down. We have a little bit of origin going on.
Mm-hmm.
How did it come to be like a race?
Its first instance? This would go back to the origin of dwarfs and gnomes.
Okay, great. Yeah, we're building right off of stuff we've already established.
So essentially, there was a period of time where halflings were attracted to this thing called the vortex, which was really the god Borg, or my cat, but probably the god. And he, when they touched it, they split into half. The ones that were attracted to the vortex were split into half. Some became dwarfs, some became gnomes. And for a period of time, they all kind of lived together in the same area. But then there was a dwarven lady who acquired this eye. And through the use of the eye, actually took over halfling society completely. Which, if you know the halflings in my world, it's not like taking over Hobbit land. Halflings in my world are pound for pound. They are the mongoose of warriors, but she actually helped overthrow, enslave the gnomes and the halflings for a while. Years after her death, the halflings re-threw over the dwarfs, drove them away, and the gnomes just kind of took off and went into their own little area of isolation. They have a hatred for glass eyes. Should have realized that when we created them, huh? But yeah, I think that would have been the first appearance of it, like real massive events going on, creation of two new races, complete different directions for each of the societies after this happened. Actually, it would have been a dwarven man that would have got it, because it's a matriarchal society now, and that's probably because they don't trust the men to run it anymore.
Okay, so you said this woman found it.
I'm changing it to a man.
You're changing
because the dwarves in my world are matriarchal, and because the corrupt tyranny of this guy was so bad, they don't even let the guys run it anymore.
So you're saying it's because of this eye? That was like the start?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, no, he used it to, like, literally to attack the weakness of all of the halflings that were around, and until he became the most powerful person, so he could shape society the way he thought it should be shaped. But he got so corrupted with evil. Just think of your worst type of despot. That was this guy.
I see, like, physically, as far as it goes, I see, like, for a while, people would hold it up and look through it, and could potentially, especially dwarves, potentially build either glasses, visor, or into a helm so that one eye can see through it.
Yep. And the will battle is to put it in your skull.
Well,
once.
Yeah. Well, but eventually they get to that. They get to the point where realizing, well, wait a minute, I don't need to, like, I could lose it if it's not attached to me. If I attach it to me, then no one can take it away.
And I know that I can really get to tweak them. My ability to use it becomes much more if I could just get it to where it's supposed to be. You know, and it's like it attacks you through empathy. You just feel like that's what it needs to be. Yeah.
I'm thinking there's got to be some sort of small positive trickery. So, i.e., there's something that either using it or having it is beneficial, aside to the benefits that you get from using its negative powers. But like, some sort of like,
they're like eagle vision or something like that.
I don't know about that, but I'm just thinking like something
hearing.
Something. Well, you know how like it wants you to use it, so you are compelled to use it by having it.
Mm-hmm.
But beyond that, I think there should be a positive effect, like i.e., like you feel really good, or you never need to sleep, or there's just something. Like I think there's some.
I like it to be vision based, just because it.
Okay, vision's fine. I'm not poo-pooing vision.
Not necessarily eagle vision, but maybe it's the ability to see. Like when something's about to happen to you, sort of like a precognition,
like a spider sense sort of thing.
Sort of like a spider, like a GURPS danger sense, a spider sense. Like you're about to be ambushed, and it's like around that corner, someone's going to stab you. The eye actually literally opens up with the mouth and says that. Not really, but you but it can do that. But that you have to put it in your skull for.
Mm-hmm.
That's one of the things.
Oh, so if you put it in your skull, it starts talking to you.
No, I think it.
Oh, come on! I like this.
No, I think that's. I like the empath.
So it's more a feeling than a verbal.
But it's a very specific feelings. Like I know if this. I mean, and it will do it before you put it in the skull. Mm-hmm. But it's like if I go in deeper, I can warn you of people going to attack you. And if you survive that first ambush, it's going to be like, I knew that was happening, but I couldn't tell you because I'm not close enough. I'm not where I need to be. And it uses that to kind of start egging you to put it in. And you get that benefit. But that's also when the negatives start to like really compound out to where, probably a much wider radius of people are affected by the weakness.
I think the aspect of, we were talking about it being a marble and like it being a child's toy. Like I like the idea of like a really, really innocent, like neutral good or lawful good child ending up with it in some age. And, of course they're not going to like, cut their own eye out. But it's in their pocket and they like to play with it a lot and and they look through it and they see things. They might not understand it, but slowly they start to, and slowly they start to take advantage of having it and so on and so forth. Like this sounds like
I would imagine the younger you are when you get it, the weaker it is. Probably because a lot of those types of things aren't necessarily built into you yet, which I'll pretend like, even if that's not true, I'm going to go that way.
No. Children are evil. It's true.
That's why I said the reason children can't move is because humans would all be cannibalized.
That's funny.
Okay, so are there any other drawbacks besides losing your eye? There's probably some health negatives to that.
I mean, the drawbacks. Like
we've talked about, some of them are built into the powers.
Well, right. Negative things start happening to your loved ones, even though you're focused on enemies. It's still, those like, all right, here's one. Like you were just saying, like about the drinker, okay, it's going to start affecting this alcoholic. So you're focused on this enemy who happens to be an alcoholic, and he starts drinking more and doing himself in because of it. Maybe somebody around you who is not an alcoholic starts to become one. Things like that.
Yeah. No, I agree. Oh, sort of like a lingering effect. Oh,
exactly. Like it's like, my wife has been drinking a lot of wine lately. She it spreads only on special occasions, really. She doesn't normally drink wine with dinner, but
that's weird. But now she's drinking
a lot of wine lately. I don't know why.
No, I kind of like that. Yeah. Sort of taking it and spreading the weakness. Yeah, no, I think it's a good one.
I like it. Weakness spreading. You're taking notes on all of this, right?
Oh, yeah.
Are you really or no?
Kind of. I have a few notes written down.
Okay.
Yeah. So I don't really, I don't have anything else necessarily for this. Do you have anything like that you're thinking?
Does it eventually, let's say somebody has it long enough. Let's say somebody has it like Bilbo long. What happens? Like, is there an eventuality? Can it completely take control of the person at some point and be the full will of the person? Or will it always be just so eventually it can do that?
I think one of the costs to that is your other eye stops working. Which is like one of the symptoms that you're done.
You can only see through the one that you've replaced.
But then you become obsessed with exposing all of the weaknesses in all of the people. So you make it your mission to expose the weakness in everyone. And there goes spreading all kinds of weaknesses and nastiness around.
Ooh, yeah. I like that a lot. Like you can start seeing even the smallest little weaknesses in a person and that's all you see. You can no longer see the good in people. You can no longer see the positive things that you wanted to change in the world. You can only see the negative things in the world that you start to hate.
And usually I would say probably what ends up happening is the person, if they're a ruler, becomes like horrifically tyrannical.
Of course.
Or if they're not a ruler, they'd probably just start murdering people because now they're trying to save the world because the only out left is letting the blood. Little revenge. And Thrax natively is the god of revenge in the prime pantheon of the world. So that perfectly makes sense to his taste. So the name must be true.
Ooh, is there anyone strong enough to have it long enough that they lose the vision in their eye, but they're strong enough to pluck out their new eye and thus leave them blind?
There's probably someone that's happened to.
I think that would be a great. You know what?
That'd be a good short story.
Well, but I think that's a character. I think that's a character that you can put in a book somewhere. Yep. Like that could be the classic trope of the blind seer. Like you could say this is the blind.
Why is he blind? Yeah. Okay, I just lost Michael. I don't know if it's me or Michael.
This character was once the owner of the Eye of Thrax. Thrax?
Thorax, yeah.
Thrax.
Repeat everything you just said because I completely lost internet there for a half a second. From the beginning of the episode. No, I'm joking.
I'm not sure. Well, you caught what I said about like a character strong enough that they then blinded themselves.
And that's kind of where the internet cut out just for a few seconds.
Okay, so you got a character who was strong enough willed to be cognizant that it wasn't them, that it was the Eye of Thrax, and eventually decided, I have to be rid of this thing. So they then cut the Eye of Thrax out of them. Because at that point, it reattaches and it becomes part of you.
Yeah, almost. It's like removing your eye again. And
it's like removing your eye again. And it's even harder.
You have no vision. And it would make a great, I think that would be a good character for William to bump into at some point. Because the character William Stewart is exceptionally powerful. He's blessed by 3 gods, which, like I said, everything comes with a cost. But one of the things is, as you start pushing what you can do, being, a Greek hero like Achilles times 3, then there are costs to it, and I think it maybe this person who had the eye is the warning to him, which probably doesn't change his perception, but helps him start changing the course of what he's doing.
So I love the idea of it being a really strong-willed person who eventually becomes a blind seer. So that implies that there's a residual power that gets left in the person.
Maybe, well, if nothing else, just the wisdom of being able to cut out the eye.
Well, I'm thinking that they get the danger precognition.
Oh, they keep that?
They keep that. But maybe it's one of those things. Well, the limit is they can't see any danger before themselves. They can only see danger before others.
Oh, that's interesting. I like that, yeah.
And that's what makes them a beneficial blind seer, that a seer, like people can go to them for bad news.
Oh, you're too late.
Your sister.
What do you mean I'm too late?
Your sister's going to die. There's no avoiding it. There's going to be a rock fall about 10 o'clock tonight. You can't avoid it.
No, there's a rock falling right now. What do you mean? This cave is collapsing.
It's not going to get me. It's just, boof. Sorry. If I have known that before you walked in, I'd have moved to the table.
You should have come last week. I could have saved you, but you just came too late.
Too late. That'll be $5.50.
If I get this rock off of it, maybe you could pay me.
Somebody give me a hand. I can't see a thing.
All right. So, do you want to come up with a world building task today? Do you think you can make one up there?
Well, I mean, the real simple one would be to come up with an artifact. Come up with an artifact that here's what another thing that I like about the idea of the artifact is that it should be a thing of legend. Mm-hmm. So there should be people that are aware of it.
Oh yeah,
that have never seen it.
It could be esoteric.
It's never crossed paths, but it should be whispered throughout the land. Not so big that everybody knows about it, because
everyone knows about Excalibur, but it's
I don't think it should
be the reach of most people.
I don't think it should be that big.
Well,
I think it. Well, think about. You're talking about before written history, which means there's a lot of people that would not know it, except the tale is
with
verbally.
This item, but they're making up. Everyone might know about it, but it's still it would have to be out of the reach of most people.
Okay,
not out of the desire, but out of the reach.
So make yourself an artifact. Now, if you are in an advanced technology, my thought is, it's not magic. It's just a really killer piece of technology that a super genius singular person created, and no one knows how to replicate it. So they need to get their hands on that technology. So it's like either it's a program or an item or something.
An AI to it that replicates the evil.
Yeah. So you know what? I actually just watched a movie. Exactly what we're talking about. I can't believe I didn't think about this. Go watch the movie Upgrade. The computer chip in that movie is exactly what we're talking about on a technological basis.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
Great movie too. Like really, this is on a smaller level, so it's literally
it really isn't, because it's not really an artifact someone uses.
Yeah.
So that's probably a little bit different, but same kind of idea.
Yeah.
And for the real world task, I've recently expanded some of the content on howtoworldbuild.com, starting to get it a little bit closer to that course to sell on Udemy. So go in. There's a lot more than just the actual city building guide. There's a little bit on the fundamental questions of world building now, and some of the basics, just kind of going over a few more areas just to strengthen it out. So if you want to world build, you want to get better at it, maybe it's become so complicated you're frozen and stuck in it, go to howtoworldbuild.com, just sign up, and the course, it's a short video course. It's completely free.
And thanks for listening.
See you next week. Thank you so much for listening to the World Builders Anvil.
We would love it if you would share the World Builders Anvil with 2 of your friends.
And so would they.
If they are unfamiliar with podcasts, then you get to introduce them to the wonderful world of podcasting.
Take them to Stitcher or iTunes, or best of all, just send them to our website, www.gardul.com.
That's GARDUL.com.
Now strike while the mithril's hot.